What up, guys? Today we got a question from Bob, who says he feels like he's a McDojo Black Belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So in case you're new here, a Bob question means that the person is either named Bob, which is pretty rare, and most of the time it's for a person who wants to remain anonymous. And as I'm going to explain in this message, you're going to know why it needs to be anonymous. So Bob sends me a message. He says that he feels like a McDojo Black Belt, and what happened at his previous gym just killed his desire for training. So he says that at his previous gym, he trained for about 7 years. And it's a very popular chain of gyms. I'm not going to name the name because I have friends that are in that gym association, that affiliation, and they're very good. But he may have trained at one that was bad. Anytime you have like a lot of numbers, big numbers, a lot of times you're going to have good ones and bad ones. But he said he trained at this gym, and he got to a black belt in 7 years. And he said this place is like the McDonald's of jiu-jitsu, where you're being essentially promoted based on pure attendance, which is pretty McDojo, right? Just pure attendance, not off skill and everything else. So anyway, he has a falling out with this instructor over something, and he goes to another gym in his area, and this other gym is a good gym. It's a top level gym where guys are producing high level competitors, are competing at the top stage of the world, right? And so he goes to this new gym, and he says instantly, he's like, oh snaps, I'm not a black belt. I don't belong here with this black belt on. He says in his mind, he feels like he's at best low tier purple, right? And so he's like, oh, I don't belong in this gym. And this starts to just suck the desire out of training for him, because he used to be a guy that was training 4 to 5 days a week at his old gym and he loved it. Now he's barely making 1 or 2 days a week. And if he does train, he's training at the no-gi days because he doesn't want to wear the damn belt. That belt has become so much pressure because he knows if he steps on the mats in the gym, they're going to look at him and have an expectation of what he should be able to do, but he's not going to be able to live up to that expectation at this gym. Also, by the way, I'm just letting you know, he's 43 years old, and he said it's being hard. It's really, this has been going on for over a year now, and it's really hard to get back on that horse and get back to training like he used to with the same motivation. So he sends me the message, and here's what he asks. He says, how would you handle this in this situation? Let's be honest. If you had a black belt walk into your gym, join your gym, and it's obvious they're not up to the level, would you think less of them? No one wants to feel that way, and that's how I feel. At any rate, I hope you read the message and maybe one day address it. Please keep my name confidential. We will do that. And Bob, thank you for the question. So, brother, let's jump into how to handle the situation. And more importantly, your first question was, how would I think of you, right? So would I think any less of you? When I was a young guy and I was insecure, possibly, probably, I would walk in. This happened a couple times where we'd have guys come in and, you just instantly knew they were not up to the same level of effectiveness that your gym was sort of used to. And yeah, you kind of judge them a little bit. Oh, who gave this guy a black belt? Jesus, this guy sucks. We start criticizing in our minds this guy, right? Now, no, I wouldn't think less of you. I would think you're just a product of your environment, the training that you went through. Also, you didn't give yourself a black belt, did you? Someone gave it to you. You're a product of the place that you came from. That's the way that I would look at it. And again, I've been on the receiving end of this because, one, I gave up my purple belt. It's a long story. If you guys want to see the video of it, you can check it down below. It's a pretty interesting story. But I gave up my purple belt when I came to my gym that I'm at now, that I own, because the coach that was there basically said I wasn't up to snuff for the purple belts that he had in mind, right? So I was like, okay, well, here's my purple belt. You give it back to me. Also, too, when I went to train with my coach, Sean Hammonds, back in the day, who was, he was running a really good competitive program, I went down there and realized very quickly that I wasn't up to the level that, like, as a brown belt, I wasn't up to the level that he had set. And so I was like, I got to step my game up, right? And so this gives me a couple ideas for you. Number one is that when people come into my gym, and this has happened plenty of times now, where people come into my gym and they're not up to the same level that I would have set for that particular belt, I don't think less of them. I just think you're a product of your environment. Now you're in my environment. Let me build you up. Let me make you better. Let me show you how we do things. Does it make sense? Like my coach, Sean, when I went down there with a brown belt and I was struggling with like the purples and blues, he didn't go, man, you suck. He said, here, come here, Chew, let me show you something, right? He helped me out. And I think that's kind of the mode that most of us as coaches do. And the gym that you're training at, I don't know them personally, but I know a few guys in there. I don't know everybody personally, but I know a few guys in there. And it's a good gym. And I imagine that they're probably of the mindset of like, hey, come here, bro. Bob, let me build you up. Let me make you better, right? Likewise, I've had students who've come in who have had the same kind of pressure that you have. And they literally came up and gave me their belt just like I did to my coach at one point, or to a coach. I don't want to call him my coach because I spent very little time with him, but gave it to him, spent some time with him a little bit. So they gave me the belt. Now, I did not encourage them to do that. I did not tell them to give me their belt, but they gave me their belt. And they said, you know what, Chewy, give me this belt when you think I'm ready for it, because I'm not up to snuff of the blue belts, the purple belts, the brown belts that are in this gym, and I don't want it. You give it to me when you think I'm ready. And so I did, right? And that's no big deal. And that took the pressure off them. And so a couple things to chew on here for you, Bob, is number one, I doubt anybody is thinking less of you. Also, just sort of a quick caveat that sort of kind of goes along with it. You're 43 years old, you're a hobbyist, you're in a gym full of young killers. And I know they got some older guys there too, but you've got some killers in that gym, bro. You're not hanging with those guys if they don't want you to. I mean, I know that we have this myth of jiu-jitsu with technique and all this yeah, but like youth and athleticism and all these things, and even the bandwidth, bro, because you're 43 years old, you got a career, you got a wife, you got kids, you got all these things in front of you. Your bandwidth is very limited with jiu-jitsu, opposed to a 23-year-old who has a youth on his side. He's been wrestling since he was in diapers. Now he's training, and then his whole life is surrounded by jiu-jitsu. His 100% focus goes to jiu-jitsu. You're not hanging with that. No amount of technique is going to necessarily quell that. It's just the way it is. And again, we can argue about this, but at a certain point, youth, it's a damn amazing thing when you got it, and when you don't have it and you realize it, man, it sucks. So sometimes I'm rolling with some of my young guys, and I'm technically better than them. I'm stronger than them physically. I'm physically stronger than them, but damn it, they got that youth on them, man. They got that engine that just keeps going, and I start to get tired. I start to get worn out, and I'm just hanging on. And it is what it is. So again, don't judge yourself by the yardstick of like the 23-year-old hardcore competitors. Find other older masters level people, old people, right? And that's where you're trying to measure yourself, like versus like, okay? Now, going back to it, a couple ideas. Number one is that if you don't want this belt, bro, and it doesn't seem like you're that attached to it, to me, it literally looks like this thing has become an impediment to you training, just give the damn belt back to the head coach and say, man, you give me this when you think I'm ready. I mean, if you're really attached to it, then whatever. I mean, but it seems like it's a problem. Hand the coach the belt, say, I'm done with it, man. I don't want it. You give it to me when you think I'm ready. Take the pressure off, put on whatever belt color they want you to. Now you go into the gym and the pressure is off. You can now just go back into the rank and file instead of having to have everybody look at you like, oh, there's the black belt. Because again, anybody that goes to a gym, anytime you have a gym and there's a black belt on the mat, you have a certain thing that you think about them. Ooh, there's a certain respect that you give them, certain reverence, because you're like, they must be good. Take the pressure off. Jump back down a belt level or two, whatever they want you to do. And then the other thing is, again, just realize your own insecurity. A lot of times we're far more in our heads and we're more critical of ourselves than other people are. You could talk to your coach and even ask them the same questions you're asking me. Like, hey man, do you think less of me? I came from this gym. I don't feel like I'm up to snuff. What do you want me to do? Right? Because I've had that before too. Guys literally come up to me and say, hey, Chewy, I'm not up to snuff of the purple belts in here. I remember this one conversation, purple belts in here. What do you want me to do? And obviously I told them, just keep training. We'll round out the rough edges around your game, right? But maybe they have a different policy with it, But again, talk to them in that sense. But also you can always just take the belt off and give it to them. And I doubt many people are going to care one way or the other with it. So going back to it, that's my idea. That's what I've done with my students in the past and what I've done in the past. And hopefully that gives you a couple of ideas to chew on, Bob. Appreciate your question and good luck with it. Do something, take care of it, and get your ass back on the mat and stop messing around with this thing with like worrying about this black belt, all right? Again, the most important thing is that you're training jiu-jitsu, and that's what's important. The belts, whatever. Anyway, that's it. Talk to you guys next time.